I am so happy to be joined by Chris Henderson of Three Doors Down, who is also an entrepreneur. And if you're watching this on video, you can see his American flags in the background. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. We're in the middle of like restructuring the floor of the business, so there's things everywhere. But this is the room where we do podcasts and YouTube stuff like that. And I store a bunch of well, as you can see in the background, there's a bunch of there's guns back there now, but like we keep our inventory up here, but we're restructuring it, make it easier to work with because this place gets crazy.
Wow. So take me through a little bit. Obviously, you have a very unique story. Three Doors Down was founded because of three people walking down the street. Um, and obviously, you came in 1998,
96.
96.
Yep.
So, kind of take me through what was it like in those early days in Mississippi,
Okay.
and what was that like?
Well, let's see. So from a real small town called Escatawpa. It's called Escatawpa, but we pronounce it with a B because it's Mississippi. That's the way you do things down there. And Todd, our original bass player, and I were in a band together called the Union with another guy. Who's now a Nashville songwriter. His name was Sean Gasaway. And we were a little bit older than Brad and Matt at the time. I'm 7 years older than Brad. Matt would have been about the same age. So he'd been around 47 as well. I'm 54. But if you're in a band, you're in this band or you're in the other band. That makes sense. There weren't very many musicians around, and especially as young as we were. I think when we got signed, I was 28. So when I joined the band, I would have been 24, 25. So I've been doing this a long time. And but it was really cool. Brad was a really gifted, lyricist, like right from the get-go. Matt, we all listened to like Megadeth and stuff, and like 80s heavy metal, like not 80s pop rock, but 80s metal. We listened to a lot of Megadeth, a lot of Metallica, things like that. I took it a step above and went a little bit progressive, and but you combine all that plus the country and the gospel flavor, if that makes sense, because there was a lot of gospel going around back then, and a lot of blues and a whole lot of country, like, but not like traditional country, almost like George Strait, George Jones, stuff like that. You take all that and combine it, and you get what we are. And so you get those heavy riffs, you get the really cool guitar stuff. You don't get a lot of flashy solos because I mean Metallica, they don't really do a lot of that stuff, and we don't really care about doing that anyways. But you get just good songs and things like that. And Brad being who he is and having the imagination that he does, it's a really unique combination, and it came easy to us. It really did. I mean, I heard Kryptonite. I wasn't a writer on Kryptonite, but when I heard that song, I was in another band at the time, and I was like, I have got to get in this band. This is going to be the band. This band's going to get signed. You know what I mean? I knew it instantly. I was driving down to Highway 63. I just left work, and I was a maintenance supervisor at a ceramic coating facility, and I had the original demo CD. And I wasn't in the band yet, hadn't even had a call or, hadn't asked to be in the band, anything like that. But I heard Kryptonite and I was like, I'm gonna make myself available to these guys, you know. And so that's what I did, man. I started hanging around. Well, I've been hanging around. We were all best friends anyway. So I was kind of like at band practice and had heard some of the original music. But when I heard that, I knew it was on.
You're basically a founder.
I was there at the beginning. I was there, but I wasn't actually in the band. There was another guitar player in the band at first, another young kid, but as many musicians do, they either go off the deep end or they can't really handle it or they don't like it's a jealous business. You know what I mean? So like when someone does something good, if you can't go, hey, good job, and you have to internalize that and have a problem with it, it's going to be an issue at some point. And he was an issue right off the bat for him. He didn't like anybody doing anything else. And, can't be in a band like that. That's not what a band is.
So that's how you came in, which is very interesting because I've never heard that before.
Yep.
People just think you maybe walked in a year or two later, but you've known Brad for quite a while.
I don't remember knowing him. I don't remember meeting him, or I just remember kind of like knowing him. I've known him since he was like, shoot, man, he's 9 years old. Because I went to high school with his sister, and Todd, our bass player, dated one of his sisters, and Matt and Brad were cousins, and so we all live in a town of 1,800 people. T-ball, baseball, football, everything. Like we cross paths daily. And we just, like I said, if you're in a band in Escataba, you're in this band or you weren't in one, you know.
Really fascinating to hear that story right there, for people who want to know more about it. So, and for you, obviously, what is something that struck you to guitar over drums at a younger age, uh, or more so playing like that?
I think there's a lot of different reasons I chose guitar. One of the reasons was just the how clandestine I could be with it. My parents growing up weren't the best at letting anyone listen to music at all, really. That you had to really kind of like you had to hide what you're listening to and hide how much you're listening to. And if you were listening to it, you know, during the day, it was an issue. It was all these different things. And so the guitar for me was something that I could kind of hide and do. Drums I wouldn't have been able to do like that. So I could go to friends' houses and play guitar. I could, uh, hide in my bedroom when I was allowed to do that and play guitar, that kind of thing. So that's why I drew. That's why I was driven to guitar. I mean, I'm a musician internally, so I'm going to play something, be it the pan flute or the guitar or the bass or the drums, and I can kind of play a little bit of everything, kind of. But the guitar was the one that I could just, leave one at a friend's house, get on a bicycle, go play, that kind of thing.
And for you, did you learn on an acoustic guitar, or what was the first thing you remember picking up, or a box guitar?
I had a Harmony acoustic that my dad gave my mom, I think before I was born, and it was just in the closet at the house. I lived with my mom until I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I would freely practice there, and listen to music. But I moved in with my dad around 13, and everything kind of got squashed. That really conservative uh kind of upbringing, if that makes sense, and so which was fine. I mean, it was what it was. I'm not here to like to go there, but like it definitely took a lot of my freedom to create and my freedom to just be away, and made it like here are the ground rules. This is where you get to grow. You get to grow just to here, and if we allow you to, that kind of thing. And so a Harmony acoustic, and then my mom bought me I want to say it was a court, like a sea of this court guitar from a local music store, and I had to hide that thing. So I ended up taking it to a friend's house and leaving it there.
Wow. And obviously, you mentioned Megadeth being a big thing for you. Dave Mustaine. He ironically just did an interview with Sean Ryan a little bit ago, who's based in Tennessee, and Dave does not do a lot of publicity ever.
Uh, I
Have you
know
ever been able to meet Dave and
I
bang?
know Dave really well, actually. I know Dave Elfson and Dave Mustaine very well.
So, what kind of inspiration would you say that had on you directly? Obviously, before you met them.
Man, I would say riff wise, like just the groove of Megadeth was one of the things. Metallica as well, and obviously Dave Mustaine was a big part of that. So I think just that groove, which is something that's elusive. I mean, you can find it here and there. You can't really. It's like lightning in a bottle almost. You can't really just keep recapturing it. No one can. They can do it a few times, but that groove, man, I always wanted that groove and always wanted that blues of like Skinner, and wanted to basically combine both of those. That was kind of where we're at, and then the moody, the key of Satan, if you will, A minor, which is, everyone's like, no, we can't do that, but that's what everything's in for us. Uh, just despite. So
And something that I found really fascinating is that over the years, a lot of you guys have always stayed together and very close. Talk to me what it's like, and obviously some band members have come and gone. Obviously, you guys lost a very good member in 2016.
oh yeah.
But how has friendship, but also being business oriented, playing for the fans, how do you just work together as a team, would you say? Because obviously you've been with Three Doors Down forever now.
Yeah, I have. Well, I've spent more time with Brad than I have I've got kids and been married, and I'm married now, and like I spend more time with him than I did my wives, my wife now. So you have to allow the business part to become what it's going to become without the friendship, and you have to allow the friendship part to become what it's going to become without the business. You can't have all of it. Does that make sense? You have to be able to kind of like live in this little spot of business and friendship, and friendship to your face, business to your back. And that's how that kind of works. And if you can do both, if you can do business in your face, friendship in your face, no to your back, well, God, that's a good thing. Don't know many bands that can do that. We have been able to do that, but not completely. There's obviously times over 30 something years that, there's been disagreements, things like that. But really at the end of the day, it's been pretty okay. And each one of us knows the strengths and weaknesses of the other. And, through friendship and business and just traveling the world. I mean, and when I say the world, playing music and doing it constantly for 15 years. I mean, it was a lot, man. And we found ourselves, lost ourselves, found ourselves, lost ourselves in that journey. And now, like I said, I'm 54, Brad's 47, so we've kind of grown out and into what we're going to be. Um, it's been a road. It's been a road, but I would say just that was the long answer. I say the short answer is just being able to be friends and business partners at the same time, and being able to allow the ebb and flow of each one of those identities. You know what I mean? Between the two people or the three people, you really have to like let stuff go. You know, you just do, and that's the way it is. But it works, and we've grown better friends because of stronger friendship, but not like we don't take windy walks together, but we get stuff done, and we care deeply about each other.
Amazing to hear. And who's somebody that inspired you? Because obviously everyone has their different inspirations, even if you're in the same band, even if you might play the same instrument and cross lines on that behalf. But is there somebody that, besides maybe Megadeth, is there somebody maybe like an Elvis Presley or a Frank Sinatra figure that inspired you in some way from a writing ability and a setting with guitar?
I would say guitar wise, probably Alex Lifeson from Rush. I would say would be one of my main, maybe not a musical influence to the point where I'm trying to emulate him, but to the point where as like a cultural human being on planet Earth and a musician, with the way that he approaches life, business, music, family. Uh, I would say he's the one that I took the most inspiration from, like all of it. Musicianship wise, probably um Ricky Medlock, man, from Blackfoot, and Leonard Skinner. Just just to watch him play and how he has a great time. And the Skinner stuff is a huge big deal. It's a big deal to me. I'm from Mississippi, so when you're born there, you get a birth certificate, a Dale Jr. diecast, a first Skinner record. That's what they send you home from the hospital with when you're born. So that's kind of like the rules there. And getting able to by being able to go out and tour with those guys at early in our career, and kind of seeing what that had become with all the trials and tribulations that they had went through. That was a big deal to me. And then, just talking to those guys day after day after day, because they were real people. They weren't rock stars, they were real people, and there are some rock stars out there. I've met a ton of them, and whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but that's not who we are. I'm the guy you're talking to, and Brad is the same way. And when we met the Skinner guys, well, they were 65 years old, but it was like, and Alex too, Alex Lifeson, he was one of the first producers to work with us, and just to meet him, and to meet him where he was and not where you thought he was going to be. Does that make sense? You know?
Totally. And I've interviewed Donnie before, 38 Special, and
Yeah.
and Johnny. Had
Okay.
them on in March. And just incredible to hear how he obviously a decade later brought Leonard Skinner back, and what Donnie's done with 38 Special.
Yep.
It was just amazing to hear their story. And obviously, like you mentioned, that's a Southern rock family right there. I mean, that's the
It
Beatles
is.
in the way of the South right there. So,
It
and in
is.
the road.
Yes, definitely, man. And even 38, those guys, man, I'm really good friends with Bobby Capps, keyboard player. So I know a lot of ins and outs about those cats. Same thing. Just beautiful people, good human beings that just happen to be great musicians and live the lifestyle that we live. And they live it right, do it right, do it by family, do it by friendship, do it by business, you know.
And for you, obviously, is there a place or a country that has always stuck out to you? When I interviewed Johnny and Donnie, they mentioned Japan because in Japan, they always leave a soda. Like if you put a soda bottle up Monday, when you get back from your show on Tuesday, that same soda bottle will be there because they memorize every single thing about you when you're at their hotel like that or backstage. Is there a country to you that sticks out?
There's several. Each country's got its own flavor. Like, so for instance, I'll give you a couple of examples. So in Scandinavia, specifically Finland, in between songs, the crowd will chant this note, kind of like a oh, and they'll do it. It's like a haunting, like minor tone note that they'll do in between songs. And then when you start playing, they'll release that note. In Russia, they sit down until the chorus hits, and then they all jump up. So like somebody in the crowd will take charge of the crowd and sit them down until the chorus hits. When the chorus hits, man, off they go. That's one of the things that they do. And just like in Boston, they chant the Yankees suck in between each song. It's like so. But for me, I think Germany, um, people, culture, food, uh, just atmosphere. That's the place for me. I think it's a really cool country, man. They follow the rules. They keep it clean. They respect each other, for the most part, and they're just really rabid music fans. They like to dig into the band, like in each individual person. They like to know things about you, but not what Facebook says. They know other things. They do the research. They find out what they like. They find out what they like about your songs, and they are there forever. They don't ever go away. And one of the only probably cultures and countries that really does that. Japan does the same thing, but like they really dig into the band. They get to know you as a whole unit. It's incredible, really is.
Fascinating to hear, especially as somebody who hopes to travel the world a little bit more. And have you ever been able to, and I'm just asking, have you ever been able to perform in Russia? Obviously, I know Metallica back in the day. He's talked about it before. Not so much Dave, but the other one.
Uh,
So what was your experience in Russia?
all right, so my first experience in Russia was at a hotel in Moscow. We check in, you give them your card for incidentals, and before you leave the line, somebody in the UK is renting a limousine with your credit card. Like they instantly ghost your credit card and take it. I mean, right after like Ritz Carlton, it's like nothing they can do about it. So they're like, don't use American Express or don't use this. So, but you got to use something. So, but that was my first experience. But then the fans, they were waiting for us at the hotel. I didn't even know where we were staying, and the fans knew we were staying, and they give you gifts, simple things, but handmade stuff. So nesting dolls is a big thing there. Where they, where they hand paint these dolls, and they look just like us. So it's like almost an AI painting of, but this is shoot, man, 2003, 2004, and the Russian fans were giving us these little trinkets that they make, and you'll see them every day because they're obviously going to go to the Moscow show, the St. Petersburg show, and then probably in Poland they're going to be there too, and you're going to get a gift from each one of them each time you see them, and it's just their culture, and it's really cool. I saved all that stuff. I know Brad has too, so I've got tons of nesting dolls and little keychains and things, and it's really neat. They make you something from where they're from, you know, and that's so that was, Russia's a great experience. And then, backstage, the promoters and all that are kind of like uh a little bit different, if you will, kind of like aggressive, if you know what I mean. Like I don't want to say any derogatory terms about anybody, and I don't mean it this way, but like if I had to give you an example, let's say like a Russian stereotype of like a Russian gangster that you might see in a movie. That would be the promoter. You know what I mean? Like this the way it's gonna be, guy. You know what I mean? And then all the people that are there on the crew are just like, whoa, get a load of this cat. But they get stuff done. They really do.
Wow, amazing to hear how just people everywhere around the world can really unify around music. Because we haven't mentioned politics once during this interview. And I
No,
think that's something that's really fascinating. I've interviewed people, obviously, Lee Greenwood, you know where he stands on politics, and
yeah,
Jim Rich,
I know
you know
Lee.
where the Weezer people who I've interviewed stand on politics too. So I think that's something that's amazing for me is even though I've interviewed Eric Trump, I can interview the Weezer Basin and talk about the guitar for 20 minutes and never bring up Trump or Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Obama. And that's so fascinating about music. One other thing I kind of wanted to close with is how has music in your eyes changed but remained the same since you still got heavily involved in the last 30 years?
Um, so I think the way music is stayed the same. I'll just go there first. Is like when kids come to your shows, they're not coming to your shows because they love your band, so to speak. They might love your band, they might love the music itself, but music is art, right? And art evokes emotion and healing and trauma and all these different, like really like visceral and cellular things inside of people. And so the people that come to your shows are there because of that. So they're there even whether or not they know it or not. They're there really to heal and to, you know, become like one with the music. They want to go see the band and become one with the music, but it's like that deep, even when people don't realize it. It is for me, anyways, and it's been my experience over the years that people that hit the back gate looking for autographs and things like that are not looking to party so much. They're looking to get a piece of what is keeping them alive, if that makes sense. A lot of people end up there because of what happened to them as children, and it's a big deal. So that's the one thing I think has stayed the same because people still come for the music, for the healing, and for the feeling that you get from it. Because it's more than just, oh, catchy beat. It's way more than that, you know? So that stayed the same. I think what's changed is just the way that it's delivered. The art is now almost cookie cutter, if you will, but it doesn't matter. The emotion's the same. So it doesn't matter if you create music with a leather patch or a synthesizer or a guitar, if it comes from you or comes from AI, it doesn't really matter. The result inside the human is going to be the same. It's just going to be. You're going to attach yourself to it. So I think it's changed in that way as well. So in the way we get paid has changed. Which is that's a whole different thing, which doesn't make sense to anybody but me, and it's okay. I don't have a really a strong negative opinion or positive opinion about it. It is what it is. But it's music is something, man. It's a really powerful. Man, I can't even say just powerful. It's like everything for a lot of people. You know, probably for you, it's probably everything. You don't even know it. It's just like it makes you cry, it makes you smile, it makes you happy, it makes you sad. It brings up things that you didn't think were coming up. It comes when it comes, it does what it does. You know, that's a big deal.
I completely agree. 100%. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Chris. I really appreciate it. Anything else you'd like to say to maybe young people or people who are even old that want to pick up an instrument and just do it for fun? What's your advice?
Do it for fun and then do it for what it brings for you. I can't give you any tips on how to become a famous anything. I can just give you tips on uh, just enjoy it and set yourself up to enjoy it. Don't make it difficult. Like, don't, unless you want a woodshed and practice 18 hours a day, don't. Just go in there and play when you want to play and enjoy that and try to emulate, try to learn what you want to learn and get what you want out of it instead of what you think you want. And have fun, man. Music is supposed to be fun, and for a lot of people, it's not always fun. Um, and that's a really like that's a fine line to walk, I think. But like I've learned to over the years to like skirt that line and have fun, not have fun, and still be able to create and get what I'm supposed to get out of it. So I'd say just keep an open mind and give yourself a break.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again for coming on, and we appreciate everything you've done in the music world and everything you do for Three Doors Down and for the fans and for the entire community. So thank you so much again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you, man. It was a nice surprise to hear from you. I read the email and I was like, all right, yeah, I can do that. Sounds fun. You know what I mean? So thank you.